I'm Juliet. I'm Juliet Berger. I am the president of Washtenaw Audubon. I'm so glad to see you all. I know more people are going to be popping in soon, but I wanted to introduce myself. You can see my name here. My pronouns are she and her. And like we do at the beginning of every one of our meetings, I read our diversity, equity, and inclusion statement. And it's really important tonight since we're doing Birding is for Everyone. So the birds that Washtenaw Audubon pledges to protect differ in color, size, behavior, and geographical preference in countless other ways. As we honor and celebrate the equally remarkable diversity of the human species, Washtenaw Audubon considers the work of inclusion, diversity, and equity a top priority moving forward. We hope that in doing so, we can bring new creativity and energy to our work in Washtenaw County and beyond for birds and people alike. So respect, inclusion, and opportunity for people of all backgrounds, lifestyles, and perspectives will attract the best ideas and harness the greatest passion to shape a healthier, more vibrant future for all of us who share our planet. We believe that protecting and conserving nature and the environment transcends political, cultural, and social boundaries. As an organization, we're committed to increasing the diversity of our board, volunteers, members, supporters, and programs. As an organization, Washtenaw Audubon strives to create a sense of community where all people can feel safe to explore nature and experience the wonder of birds. We respect the individuality of each member of our community and welcome all without discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, age, sexual orientation, gender identity and expression, disability, national or ethnic origin, politics or veteran status, or any other status. And all are welcome to bird with us, learn with us, and to share our passion for birds and the environment. So welcome, everyone. I'm so glad to have you all here. So we were talking about cool bird sightings before we got started. And if anything has any cool bird sighting that they want the whole group to know, please, please let's get those out right away. Anything cool that I should be chasing in Washtenaw County? Some of our birds are starting to nest. I know Victor had a nesting chickadee in one of the boxes at Thurston. I'm super excited about that. And bluebirds are nesting up at Cedar Bend in a new bird box that I just found today. So that's a fun spot. Kristen had 2 winter wrens at the Saline River Preserve. Both of them singing, I'm guessing. So that was really exciting. If you have any cool bird sightings, chime in here. Otherwise, I'm going to move on to announcements. Mike, you're there. Yay. You're muted, Mike.
White-tailed tropic bird.
A white-tailed tropic bird?
2.
2? He's in Hawaii. No fair.
I don't know that this will draw people to chase them, but last night I had 2 hermit thrush that I could see from the parking lot of the Saline Public Library.
Oh.
Excuse me. Nothing thrills me more than spotting a great bird from a parking lot for some reason. But
yes. So I heard that at the parking lot at Tawas Point State Park, there's a Say's Phoebe. So that's a pretty great parking lot bird. Yeah. So we're getting some feedback from the Michigan DNR to take down our feeders, at least temporarily, because of the spread of the bird flu. It's coming through the wild geese and ducks, and it's also being found in some blue jays, starlings, and crows and ravens. And we do have blue jays that come to our feeder, and they could spread it amongst themselves and possibly to some of our songbirds that are coming up from the south right now. So I've taken down my feeders. I'm going to put up a hummingbird feeder, but that's going to be it for a while until otherwise notified. I wanted to also announce that Victor's been running BiPOC bird walks. Victor, are you still here? There you are. Every month. And this is a fabulous idea that Victor started. We had our
Inspired
premiere.
by these two gentlemen right here.
Inspired by Jeff and Dexter. Thanks, you guys. We started in February, and they've been super popular. BiPOC, Black, Indigenous, and people of color have been coming out, and allies are coming, and they've been super fun events. So the BiPOC bird walk is Saturday, right?
It's supposed to be 78 degrees and
Wow.
sunny.
It's going to be 78, and
We've had people muster through 20-degree weather and snow, and they coming out, and now we get 78. So I'm telling you.
I know it's going to be awesome.
Great.
So from 9:30 to 11:30 at the ARB, and the location is on the website. So check that out.
I'm curious. Sorry if I don't mean to interrupt. I'm curious.
No.
Is April Campbell involved with that meetup?
April. Well, we talked about it. We kind of. I've worked with April a little bit, and I took some walks with her. She knows about them. She hasn't been able to make it out yet. She says she's tried to make it, but she hasn't been able to make it yet.
Okay.
I did talk with her also. She was also part of the inspiration of starting these, because I know that she was doing some stuff with Michigan Audubon.
Yeah, and I know she was interested in that. Yeah.
Yeah, she's actually been talking to us. We're working on possibly actually starting a BiPOC birding group of Michigan. And so maybe if we make a subpage that all of us can work together on, we can co-advertise any kind of BiPOC birding field trips that are going on in the area, so everyone can try and attend.
Sounds good. We like it. Collaborating are us. Is Matt here? Is everybody showing on the screen? So I was looking for Matt Spohr, our field trip chair. Otherwise, I get to make the field trip announcements myself. Of course, we're doing our Thursday mornings every Thursday at 8 a.m. at the east end of Dow Field there in Nichols Arboretum in the ARB. So the location is on the website and the Facebook page every Thursday morning at 8 a.m. until the end of May. Please volunteer for our May count, May 14th. It's an event that we've been running in Washtenaw for probably 25 to 30 years, and it's my favorite thing. I'm the compiler and the coordinator, and we get area leaders for each township, so you could volunteer close to home, or you could volunteer wherever you're needed. And so May 14th is World Migratory Bird Day and eBird's big day for the spring. So it's a great day to do a big day and count some birds for our May count. You can contact me. All the contact information is on the website. So please volunteer for that. It's really important. So Saturday is the BiPOC bird walk at the ARB. On Sunday, Dan Sparks Jackson is taking us through the Nan Weston Preserve. He's one of our finest, what's the word for somebody who's great with plants? My word is escaping. Botanist. He is a fine botanist, yes. And he's a fine birder, and he combines both of those in an incredible way. So we'll be meeting at 8 a.m. at Nan Weston Preserve, which is out in the western part of the county. It's a beautiful floodplain forest. It has some of the best wildflowers. Hopefully with a couple 70-degree days, we'll have some wildflowers. I haven't seen any yet, but we could be lucky. And then again, April 30th, we've got a family bird walk with the Ypsi Library that takes place in the afternoon. I think it's from 2 to 3. We'll be walking down the Water Street Trail with Victor. Again, every Thursday morning, so I'm not going to announce those again. Just come on out on Thursday morning to the ARB. Mike asked me to announce the programs that are coming up. Of course, we have Jeff and Dexter tonight with Birding is for Everyone. We're super excited to have them. Victor's going to introduce them in a moment. On May 18th, we have Josh Hass from the Kalamazoo Nature Center, and all of his raptor programs. We've seen so many wonderful programs from Josh. He's going to be doing a program for us on identifying spring warblers and vireos, which is quite a timely topic for May. Looking forward to that. And on June 15th, we'll have Don the man Chalfant, doing one of his fabulous programs. And we don't have his topic yet. Then we take off for the summer and we'll start again in the fall. And I have no idea who Mike has planned for us in September, but stay tuned for that. And Mike doesn't know either. Okay. Victor, would you do the honors of introducing Jeff and Dexter? I'm so excited that you've been able to bring them to us tonight.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm Victor Chen. If you don't know me, I'm the education chair of Washington Audubon, and I have the distinct pleasure of introducing Jeff and Dexter tonight. So Dr. Jeff Galligan is the co-founder of the BiPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin, is a member of Madison Audubon's board of directors, and is the director of the TRIO support, student support services, and Men of Excellence programs at Madison College. He's been an avid birder for decades and believes that there needs to be a birding community for people of color, along with more inclusive representation of BiPOC in the conversation and stewardship conversation in Wisconsin. It is his dream to inspire young people of color to see themselves in STEM careers at an early age, and hopes the BiPOC Birding Club can be a catalyst in that endeavor here and in the greater Madison area and across Wisconsin. Known on social media as the Wisco Birder, Dexter Patterson is on a mission to spread as much joy as possible by making his new hobby of bird watching welcoming for all birders around the state. His Instagram followers love his energetic and exciting videos that feature him singing and dancing through the woods, finding stunning birds throughout the state, and taking gorgeous photos. Dexter is on a mission to prove that birding is for everyone, and hopes that the BiPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin will help make birding a more inclusive, not only in our greater Madison community, but across the Badger State. And just on a personal note, whenever I watch Dexter's videos, I can feel the joy. There's so much joy in them. It makes me yearn for my home state of Wisconsin, thinking about all the places that you're going. I can't wait I hope to meet you guys someday back in Wisconsin. So without further ado, Dexter and Jeff, take it away.
Well, thank you.
Hello, everyone. All right, let me get into our presentation quickly here, Jeff.
You bet. Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you for having us. We're excited to be here. This is great to share what we've been doing over the last almost year now.
All right, Jeff, they did the intros and everything. I figure we can just kind of dive in and give them the rundown on how it all began and just kind of go from there.
Except maybe
before you guys start, this is Jessica jumping in. I think I still see your like your mute, stop video, security screen. I think you can just either hide that or drag it somewhere else. It's appearing as a gray box in the middle of the screen.
I see that. Yeah.
There, it's gone now. Perfect. Thank you.
Good now?
Perfect. Thanks.
All right.
How about we start? I think wasn't there a request there to talk about how we got started with birding, Juliet? Okay. I'll start with that. I guess for me it was like my dad was, he had the Peterson book and a pair of binoculars by the window to look at birds that were coming by, but he wasn't like an avid birder, but somebody who looked at birds in the backyard or if we were camping or something. So I picked that up from him. And when I was younger, my thing was I used to like to watch like robins nesting, and I'd get on a ladder and get up there and take notes on them. I'd sit up there for hours at a time and take notes on what they were doing, and I just was fascinated with them. So I didn't get into avid birding until later in my life, but I really have been, since 2014 especially, I've been really trying to get really back into birding. I was working on my dissertation, and I pretty much had to give up a year for that. So I just made myself a promise when I finished that I was going to really renew my interest in birding, and I've done that since then. And there's been no looking back on that. So a good portion of my life, I would say I was a casual birder, but in the last 10 years or so, I've been way more avid and more involved.
Yeah, for me, I kind of fall in that last category where Jeff talked about being that casual birder. And looking back on it now, I feel ashamed of myself, right? How dare you not give them the attention they deserve, Dexter? Yeah, I was that casual birder, and I feel like I've always been into them, but I really, and I always tell people, call it the pandemic push if you have to, but I really started wanting to get outside. And a big part of that was just starting to pay attention to the birds I was seeing. And it's crazy because Jeff was my guy. Like he probably thinks back to all that. Like when I first really started getting into it, I would send him everything, you know, because like Jeff was my bird guy, you know, and we're going to get into the Osprey video of the Osprey a little bit later, but like, he's always been my bird guy. So like when I started really paying attention to the birds, I would send them everything. And I started feeling bad because I was sending them stuff like all the time. I always tell people that come out to our events, once you start paying attention, good luck stopping, right? Like, cause it's like, you see one and then you see another one and you see another, and it's just like this never ending cycle of learning. So for me, I started as that casual birder, but that's one of the benefits I say that came out of the pandemic and a lot of the isolation was this push to get outside, mental health improvements and physical well-being. I started saying like, dang, like I'm going outside to see birds and they're making my life better, right? Like I'm feeling better, I'm feeling happy. And that was kind of a big part of why I was like, you know what? If it makes me feel like this, and like I'm feeling so happy, I just had this like itch to start sharing it with people, and that's kind of how it started with me. I just kind of started sharing some of these what I would call bird nerd alerts or bird nerd moments with people online, and it was like for so long I wouldn't do it because I was kind of like, oh man, I was always like taught like Black people don't bird and younger Black people don't bird. My daughters will tell you all I am not young. So just putting it out there. But really kind of trying to push away some of that fear that I had at first from, you know, not being accepted or being judged and all these weird things that society kind of puts on us. But I was like, you know what, man, I feel good, right? And I was like, I'm gonna share this with people. And the rest is kind of history. So that's kind of how I got started.
Yes, it sure is history. Yeah, and by the way, just for the record, I didn't mind you sending me all that stuff. I loved it. I was like, okay, we got them hooked, and we need that. So I was excited about that. That was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun when you first started getting into birds. So yeah, that was great, and we both now are fully invested. That's for sure.
Jeff was probably like proud of his young Padawan, you know.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I mean, in coining the bird joy, I love that. I love that term, and that's about exactly what we're all about. So, but here, how we began. It was literally in June, and it seems partly like years ago, and then partly like yesterday. It's kind of strange, but it was bouncing around in my head for a while to do something and to, you know, try to do something with birding, because I've been birding in the Wisconsin community for a little while, like I was saying, and it's just not a lot of diversity in that at all. And like Dexter said, I think the stereotype is like in amongst even a lot of Black folks is like Black people don't bird, but yes they do, and yes they can. And so I've always been proud of that fact, and I love it, and I don't make any apologies for that. But I felt like there's a need to really work to create a community for people of color to get out and start experiencing the outdoors. And probably getting ahead of myself, but I work with specifically what I work with. I don't know if you all know TRIO programs, but they're federally funded programs for first generation students, income eligible students, and students with disabilities or students of color. And the idea is to level the playing field, and you know, for people that don't have the same advantage when they're young. So what I do see is a lot of people coming in when they're adults with a terrible experience with education and people kind of telling them what they should or shouldn't do. And so later in life, they come back and they want to get an education, but they're like scared of it because they have that language or that loop going in their head that they can't do it. And I love helping them get through all of that, but I also realize that, I want to step back and create opportunities for young people so that they can visualize themselves doing whatever it is they want to do. And even if they don't want to be a birder, an ornithologist, that's okay. But exposing them to the possibility of anything dealing with the outdoors. And I think that's just an important thing to do. But anyway, I sent this email to Dexter back in, I think it was June 16th. And I was like, hey, let's think about doing something. We should get together and talk about creating a group or something for people of color. And he's like, let's do it. So we met, and a place called Nine Springs. It's kind of like a retention pond area where a lot of shorebirds and waterfowl and things like that. So we walked around that on June 16th and kind of got the rough idea, like, let's start a Facebook page and Instagram, which Dexter did because that's his forte for sure. And we'll see what happens. And we'll start an event in July. That's really literally how it started. And we did that. And Dexter appeared on Black Oxygen, which is a podcast here in Madison that really kind of got us attention within the community. And, here we our first event had 15 birders come to it. We now have about 30 or 35 people. And I distinctly remember when we first started this, I was like, oh, hey, we'll get a few people to come out. Great. And that would be fine with me. I did not see it as exactly what has happened, but Dexter all along was like, oh, no, they're gonna come, they're gonna pay attention to this, and people will come and we'll get some attention. I really didn't expect it to be what it's been, but it's been a wonderful ride so far. So this is just a little thing of our Wisconsin demographics. I mean, you can see Dane County and Wisconsin stats are pretty close. Milwaukee County is the most diverse county in Wisconsin, and that accounts for a lot of the Black population in Wisconsin and the Latino population. We have a higher population of Hmong folks in Madison, and then a lot of Chinese students at the university, but not a lot of diversity elsewhere, so to speak. So you can see what we're working with. We have roughly that 7% of Latinos and 3% Asian and like 1.2% American Indian, Native Alaskans. So there's not a whole lot of people, and they are concentrated in literally about 3 or 4 counties in Wisconsin. So we decided to, of course, focus on Dane County because that's where we are. That's the area, the county that Madison's in. So we started there and then expanded to Milwaukee, but just to look at the demographics there. I think you can go on, Dex.
I know a lot of people, they might ask, like, what is BiPOC? Like, what is this? It's not like a thing, right? Like, it's not like you're a BiPOC, like it's just this collective, right? BiPOC is an acronym for Black, Indigenous, and people of color. And we use it, it's intended to center around the experiences of Black and Indigenous groups and demonstrate solidarity between communities of color. So that's what BiPOC means. Why we started the BiPOC Birding Club is there's a litany of reasons, and Jeff kind of can dive into those for us here.
Yep, absolutely. So there are a litany of reasons. For sure, like we've been talking about, the lack of diversity in the birding community was important. And, I think that it's so easy, especially nowadays, for people to be completely detached from, the earth and its cycles and where the food that we get comes from and all of those things and the effect that pollution and trash and plastic and everything has on our environment. And when you're not involved in that, then it's hard to be a part of the conversation. And since we all inherit the earth, no matter what we look like, it's important for people to have enough knowledge and understanding to be and maybe tied to the earth enough to be concerned about the future, because we're leaving this for future generations. So that's one of the reasons we really want to get that diversity out there and to provide a place for people to be safe, to feel safe. We also had a desire to create, here, I got to do something with my there, okay. A desire to create opportunities and community for people of colors and allies, like I said. Again, to provide children of color the chance to see people of color as murderers. If you see it, you can be it. And that's a big push right now, is to, in like education and a whole lot of things, is to provide younger people with the opportunity to see people that look like them in positions of power and education and teaching and all that kind of good stuff. And we need to do that. So that's one thing we're trying to do. Again, to promote and discuss mental health and the benefits of the outdoors. We know that being outside is demonstrably, healthy for mental health, whether it's just being in a forest and hearing the wind or hearing the burbling of a creek. It's very important for mental health. And, I know Dexter's been open with it, and I have as well. The pandemic was hard on us, and being outside and being birding and enjoying the outdoors has been instrumental to both of our mental health. And there's tends to be a lack of discussion about mental health and caring for yourself. In some communities of color, it can be something you don't talk about much. So we're really trying to help promote that as well, with what we're doing. And to honor the social justice call to action as a result of the tragic murders of Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and George Floyd during the summer of 2020, which for me was really a impetus to really got me thinking about it. Like, I need to do something. There's something to change this cycle that we are in. You have anything to add to that, Dex?
Yeah, Jeff, I remember too, man, when we were at Nine Springs. And we were having fun, right? Like we were having fun. We were having some real conversations. And I remember you saying, like, man, I've been wanting to do this for so long. And I was like, man, look how much fun we're having, right? And this is like right after we took that selfie together, that you see in magazines and stuff now. And you could just kind of see those smiles. And I remember looking at you and I was like, bro, we have to share this with our people.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and I remember telling you, like, well, if you didn't have anybody to support you on this idea, you do now. Right. Like, I remember telling you that.
Yes.
Like, no, like, I'm like, no, I think we need to do this. Like, it just felt, I've done a lot of cool things in my life, but like, this was the one thing where I was like, man, this just feels right. And especially like you said, after that moment where it felt like we could make some change, that we could be on the forefront of something. And like, I just thought, I was like, from the beginning, and you even spoke on it, I always thought that people would come out. Like, I always just had this feeling like, I'm like, man, it's just too fun. And like, I think if they see it, that representation, right? This is the why for me, is like, the representation matters so much. When little Roman, our 7-year-old who wants to be an ornithologist already, little black boy, sees 2 black men leading these birding events, he now feels cool, because I always tell him how cool he is, first of all.
Right.
But like, that representation matters, man. And that's why I say it's the why. It's not that all the other things that are happening in the bird community are bad. They just aren't built for BiPOC folks. So it's like having that balance to be able to go to a Madison Audubon event, to go to a feminist bird club event, to go to a BiPOC event, to have those options. I think that's what the birding community needed and needs. And so we felt the void. And I think, and that's what I said. I mean, any successful business, any successful idea, you're solving problems. And immediately I just knew that we would solve a problem and we can move in and create some change in our community.
Okay.
Y'all hear my clock in the background?
Oh,
that's an Audubon clock, the classic bird Audubon clock with the calls on it. But yeah, Jeff talked about this too, the inspiration. There are a lot of incidents too. You can dive in a little deeper here on that.
Yeah, so the Central Park incident, which I'm assuming most of you have probably heard about, that was when that happened. The immediate reaction of the Black Birders Week was, a group of Black STEM professionals. Their response to that was to create Black Birders Week, a week of activities to highlight Black birders, and they called themselves the Black AF in STEM Collective. And they wanted to boost the recognition and representation of Black people enjoying and studying the natural world. And yeah, now it's a week of activities annually. But I was asked, because I was on the Audubon board, and they asked me to do a life story about how I got into birding and what my favorite bird is and that kind of stuff for the blog. And I said, well, let's get Dexter on that too. So Dexter and I both did that. So we were kind of already thinking, oh, wow, this Black Birders Week's pretty cool. We should probably, that kind of stimulated us to be like, okay, they did something based on some negative experiences that folks had had. And so it was like, okay, now I know I got to do something. So that's when, literally when that happened, Dexter and I got together and got this going pretty much within a week or two after that. So.
Yeah, I mean, when we went birding, Jeff, it was Black Birders Week. It was Juneteenth.
Yep.
When we went out, actually, it was Juneteenth. I mean, so there was a lot of creative juices and a lot of pride, and we just felt like a good moment for us to try to do something. And like I said, I always kind of had a feeling that people would come out, that we were filling a void. I always felt like what we were doing was our cause was just real, right? Like our cause was just, it was pure, like we were creating this because we wanted to create these opportunities. I talked about representation, and like so many people don't remember that during the Jim Crow era in this country, like African Americans couldn't even go to the national parks, right? So you have this generation of people that are growing up that are taught, right? So then you're told you can't come here. How do you raise your children? Well, you don't belong there. You have these generations of people that aren't going out to these spaces that are for everyone. So it's going to take some time for us to break down some of those barriers, and exposure to what we're trying to do, exposure to our mission, which is to create this more equitable, more inclusive birding community in our community. And then hopefully that branches out, which is kind of already started with the Milwaukee chapter and our awesome leader in Milwaukee, Rita, but hopefully across the state. And now we're talking to, UConn folks in Michigan and other people in Minnesota that we've been talking to, and just trying to collaborate and network with each other. But I mean, it's just now, it hasn't even been a year. We've been featured in over 35 publications, on television, news stories, podcasts. Jeff and Rita recently got interviewed by Audubon magazine for an article that is talking about this significant increase in groups, specifically talking about the Midwest with this more DEI focus. So what you all are talking about and having that statement, this is something that is kind of pushing throughout the birding community all over the country. And I think it's awesome. I mean, the more, I always say bird nerds unite, right? Let's bring as many of us together and we can create more change. But it starts to break the narrative, right? It starts to show people, yes, there are Black birders. Yes, there are indigenous birds. Yes, there are Latino birds. Yes, right. There's all of us. We all love these birds, and and a lot of times people say the birds are the bonus for them. They go out for the hikes. They go out for the community. So there are so many different levels to it, and it's really led to this great interest in these collaborations, meeting people like Victor, collaborating with the zoo, and like all these different things. We've been able to do some really cool, exclusive events at some of these locations for some of our members. So what we've done, I'm gonna see if I can play.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pop out of here quick and see if I can play a couple of these clips for you all to give you a little idea of what we've been doing.
Club in Wisconsin is offering ways for everyone to get into birding. The BiPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin was created in June. The goal, to gather folks who love bird watching at least once a month on trips to different locations in the area. The club's emphasis is to offer people of color a chance to experience the outdoors and birding.
I think people of color have been left out of the whole environmental conversation, and we're really just trying to change that and make these outdoor spaces places where people of color can feel comfortable.
Everyone is welcome, including kids.
I think what
You've got that happy retirement.
what we really like to push and stress to people is everyone is welcome, right? We created our club for focused on people of color, but also we also understand that change happens when everybody can kind of unite on a common mission, and that's why we invite all of our allies and our friends to join us on our walks, and that's big for us. So I'm gonna play this clip as well.
Welcome, and everybody has an opportunity to explore nature. It's a gorgeous day to scout out some birds.
Oh, got one. It's over here. Okay, brown creeper over here.
This is the BiPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin. Jeff Galligan is one of its founders.
What do I love about birds? Wow. Everything. I'm gonna get a picture of that bad boy.
Of course, the birds have minds of their own.
Oh, there you go. I have a feeling we'll be seeing more of those.
I was able to see it's yellow on its head.
Did you see it? Did
Yeah.
you? Yeah, excellent.
Galligan and co-founder Dexter Patterson started the group over the summer.
I love birds because they changed my life.
How did they change your life?
Before I met birds, and this was pre-pandemic, I was really struggling with mental health issues, depression, anxiety, getting outside in nature. I always tell people nature heals.
But historically, not everyone has had the same access or experience and treatment when they're out in the woods watching the birds.
I haven't had to deal with anything negative on the trail. I think it's just more of the perspective of like, what's this black guy doing in the woods, you know, in the rural Wisconsin with binoculars and his camera, like, because they just don't see it. Oh, the turkey people gotta be happy right now. I just got excited, hold on.
The goal is to make birding as inclusive as possible.
Bring a chickadee over there.
What we wanted was to get people of color out here and families and young kids, and we've got that every time now.
Oh, it's just a
That
robin.
To give everyone the safe space to explore and enjoy.
That's something that I struggled early with, is just being a man of color. Like, is this for me? Yes, this is for me. This is for everyone. So I always tell people, birding is for everyone. What you see?
In Madison, Savannah Tomei.
What's this one here? This tree here?
Spectrum News.
I think you'll notice right away too, a difference in how we bird in our events. We have fun. We don't, there's no shushing at the events. We cheer when we get lifers. We get excited. We clap for new birders that show up. And it's funny because a lot of people aren't used to that, and they see that. They're kind of like, oh, this is different, but they like it. They enjoy it because I always say, guess what? The birds don't care. We're still going to see a whole bunch of them, and we're going to laugh, and we're going to have fun, and we're going to make noise, and we're going to hang out together. So it's really fun, and these news organizations have seen that, and they've been able to capture some of this stuff for us, and it's really, really fun, and it really does kind of bleed in to our approach that Jeff can talk about.
Sorry, I was on mute there. Yeah, like Dexter said, I mean, our approach is really low key because the community is a big part of it. And we have a lot of new birders coming, so there's no pressure or stress for them to know something or act a certain way, and we don't want to create stress by making it into something that's stressful by having people act a certain way. So we love new birders. We love the kids and families. We really do look at what we do holistically, and the emphasis is on the community. At the very worst, if we scare some birds away, it's 2 hours out of your month. Really, that's what it comes down to. So there'll be a time to go back and be quiet later if that's what more serious birders want to do. But the relaxed, supportive, encouraging atmosphere is really fun for us, and we love to see the looks on people's faces when they see something like an owl, which they've never seen before. It's just amazing to be a part of that. It really is. We love to connect with community partners doing the same work, and that's really a big part of it. And I think it was really shown to us immediately by the Feminist Bird Club. They have a chapter in Madison, and they came to our first event. They must have got us on Facebook, and they came to our first event and have been really staunch supporters of us, and they advertise our events in their newsletter. one of the leaders of the Feminist Bird Club of Madison, is also works for the Natural Resource Foundation of Wisconsin, and they have grant opportunities for groups like ours. And she gave us the application, and we applied, and we were able to get funding, which allowed us to purchase brand new optics for kids, for adults. Really good stuff. We've been able to we had a logo created. We now have some merchandise. All the overhead stuff that we have we can pay for now, and it's pretty amazing. We've got a trip coming up we'll talk about a little later, but there's going to be like an overnight camp, and so we'll provide food and stuff for that. So it's been really, really awesome to be able to have that kind of support.
It's funny. I always tell you, I told y'all the Osprey would come back, and it's funny because people see our logo and they're always like, why the Osprey, right? Like, why the Osprey? And the Osprey, Jeff, is our spirit animal, right?
Yes, it is.
The Osprey. So the Osprey. All right, y'all. So let me set this for you. So I don't know if you've ever seen it in real life or even seen it on video, but like when an osprey comes down and just hits the water with their talons and they grab that fish and they come out of the water with it. Have you ever texted that emoji where your head blows up? That's what happened to me when I first saw a freaking osprey do that. And I saw it on video and I freaked out. And guess who I sent it to? Of course, I sent it to Jeff. But Jeff blows my mind again, okay, think emoji, when he sends me back photographs of Osprey that he's actually seen in real life. Like he actually seen one. And I'm like, you seen one of these things? And like he sent me the pictures of them. And I remember just being so like in awe of this dude. Like, I'm like, you took that picture of that thing, of that Osprey that can go into the water and snatch that fish. Like, I remember just being just stunned, right? And I kid you not, we have over 15 witnesses, you all. Our first event in July of last year at 9 Springs that we did for the BiPOC Birding Club of Wisconsin, I told this story before we started. We're doing intros. That's a big thing of what we do. We introduce ourselves and we try to build this sense of community with our members. That's been something that's been top of mind for us since the beginning. And I kid you not, within 10 minutes of us going into our walk, an osprey shows up. And all of a sudden, this osprey is a couple hundred feet away from our group. And now all of a sudden, this osprey is diving down and snatching a fish out of the water, right? In front of our group, literally 10 minutes after I had told this story. So I looked, I was like, oh, it's the osprey. I don't care what we do. Our logo is everything. The osprey is everything, right? Like that was from that day on. I was like, it's so crazy because after that happened, I remember I was doing a little social media video and I was like recording, and I remember looking back and Jeff is behind me with everybody else, and I'm like, it's happening. It's happening. Like and from that day on, like I literally the rest of that event, the nerves were gone, right? Like I was like, we're meant to do this. Like it was kind of like the stamp of approval from the osprey swooping in and saying, fellas, do this and don't stop. So the osprey is a big part of our approach and what we do because it inspired us both so much.
Dexter, there's a question in the chat. Was that the first time you saw an osprey in person?
Yes.
And then the first time I saw one snatch a fish out of the water. I had saw an osprey before that day, but that was the first time I ever saw one snatch a fish out of water, and I'll never be the same. I'll tell you that. Well, and remember our next one at Cherokee Marsh, there was one
and then
in a tree eating a fish right in front of us.
Again, it was like all of a sudden the osprey's been on the 3 or 4 events, right, Jeff? And it's wild because we saw it take the fish at 9 Springs, and then when we're at Lake Farm, it flew by with one in the talons. You actually got that shot. So it's been wild to see the osprey just kind of show up and remind us at these events that Jeff is going to talk about now. But it never ceases to amaze me. That bird is incredible.
Yeah, that was an amazing moment when it when it came and did that. That was wow. We knew we were on the right path. What's been really cool though is like in creating this logo, I was able to, work with a student at Madison Area Technical College where I work, to have her give her this chance to design this. And it, was a nice portfolio project for her. And she got some really good press. Some people put her designs out and it reached thousands and thousands of people. It was really neat. So that was another little byproduct of that. That was really cool. So we started out with the monthly birding events in Madison and then later in Milwaukee. We figured we'd just do one event. We try to not do it on the same weekends that our friends like the Feminist Bird Club and some groups in Milwaukee. We try to alternate weekends so that we're not doing things on the same weekend. So that gives people more opportunity if they so choose. We try to keep locations accessible for people that don't have cars. If I think that's important. Just for our monthly events, there are other things that we're doing that we can spread out and go to places that are farther away. But the bus line is good, and accessibility at least some of the time, or in some of the format, like having a big sit or something like that, where people who can't walk far or can join us. And so far we've done 23 events since June of 2021, which has been amazing. And I don't know, I'm trying to think, Dexter, if okay. So I thought I'd throw some bird. I mean, after all, how could we do a presentation without a couple of bird? So at the January Milwaukee event, it was crazy because the first bird they saw, I had fallen on the ice and didn't go to that because I had hurt myself a little bit. But they saw a snowy owl right off the bat, and then purple sandpiper and a ruddy turnstone. Spent several weeks in McKinley Beach eating invasive mollusks, and it was crazy because they're together and then they disappear for a day or two and then they'd come back again. So neither one of them should have been there, but it was cool to see. So that was really nice that they were there on that trip.
Hey, fun fact about that ruddy too, you see it's banded. It was banded in Denmark and we found it in Milwaukee. So that's pretty awesome.
Nice question. I see. Have we ever offered a considered urban landscape? Yes, our first Milwaukee event was at Milwaukee's only urban park, which is surrounded by communities of color and low income housing. And people, the folks that live in that area don't use that park, which is interesting. So we did it there, and the hope was that we could get some people to come, but we were not able to because it was only our first one. So, but we're trying to work with community organizations now to increase those numbers in Milwaukee. But yes, we have thought about that, and that's something that we are really attuned to, especially in Milwaukee. So yeah, we had a walk at Lake Farm, and it was really great because we saw a lot of cool raptors, and we got this juvenile Cooper sock and this red-tailed hawk that joined us and landed right in front of us. That red-tailed hawk land. We were making noise, and there were a lot of people, so we weren't hidden, and it came and landed literally like right 6-8 feet above us. It was just amazing, and sat there staring at us. So we were able to get some good pictures of it, which was great because again, a lot of people hadn't seen or realized that they'd seen red-tailed hawks. So seeing one that close, where you could hear the talons scraping on the wood when it landed or took off, that was really cool for a lot of people to see that. Okay, yeah. So the collaborations and special events, that's something that has really, for me, has been really rewarding because it shows that there are a lot of people that see the need for this as well, and are really, really desperate to try to figure out how to change that. And so therefore we've had some really good opportunities to do some great stuff. This is one we did in gosh, it was like November 30th. It was like the last day of November, I think. The Aldo Leopold Foundation in Baraboo, which is where Aldo Leopold and his family had the converted chicken shack, which you see behind us, behind the picture there in the picture. And he wrote a Sam County almanac there. And so we got to have a tour of that and the whole land, and they told us all about his family and what they did to that area. And then we got to drive to a couple of blinds right on the Wisconsin River, and we got a beautiful sunset with 10,000 plus Samuel cranes and 2 whooping cranes fly right over us in groups of dozens to hundreds. It was just amazing. It was nonstop for about what, 45 minutes, Dexter?
Yeah, it was
an hour. Oh,
it was unreal.
It was just unreal. And then the cacophony of all the bugling and everything it was just stunning. It was a stunning thing, and people were awed by it. All of us were. I'd never seen anything like that myself, so it was really, really amazing. So we've got this Blackbirders Week event coming up at the Henry Violet Zoo, which is a county zoo in Madison. It's a really nice one, considering it's a free zoo. It's still a really great zoo. So we have a collaboration with the Madison Audubon, the Henry Violet Zoo, and ourselves. And yeah, the highlight is having, and you saw him in that video clip, that was Roman, who saw the yellow on the birds he was talking about. So having him co-lead one of our 20-person birding walks is just amazing. I think back to when I was a kid, and it just was not that, it wasn't, that kind of opportunity wasn't there. So I just really, really love that. We allowed our club members to register first, and we have right now 25 people registered for it, so that's awesome. And then the Audubon and the zoo are also going to put it out to their folks. We have a limit of 100 people, but it's going to allow people to come in before the zoo's open. We're going to have like different birding groups walk around and do birding, and then we're going to have well, we'll see, but the idea was that they were going to have an avian experience and get to see some of the birds really close up, like their macaws and things like that. But because of the bird flu, if it doesn't happen, we'll still have access to the zoo. There'll be a breakfast. We're going to highlight what Blackbirders Week's all about and why it formed. And that's just going to be a lot of fun. And then we have a graphic that's going to be on the t-shirt that everybody that registers gets. So it's just another good way that we can do some community stuff with partners that get the word out. And it's just really important thing to do, to get it out to everybody. And I think it slowly changes the conversation and flips the script a little bit. Yeah, how do we attract members? We attracted a few right away with Dexter creating a Facebook page and a temporary logo for us, and he got an Instagram account going, and that started it right there. But you know, the outreach and the collaboration is huge. I think you have to get buy-in of community that you're trying to reach, and those that have that ability to reach larger groups. And I think I go back to that initial podcast that Dexter did with Black Oxygen. And I mean, you know, a good percentage of the Black folks in the Madison area heard that, and that got a lot of interest going. But, you know, the people that are doing the work, and it doesn't even have to be birding groups, but people that are working in social services or working in organizations that are providing some sort of education or community outreach to people, those are the folks that we have to work with, because they can get people to come to our events, or we can partner with them to get those folks, those young folks to come, and even adults as well. I think that's really important. The macro level support is also big. We have like the Wisconsin Society for Ornithology is a great partner. Madison Audubon is fantastic. Natural Resource Foundation, Feminist Bird Club, Birdability has been great. The Madison Audubon, I've been exploring whether we should get nonprofit status here recently, and I had a meeting with the UW Law School. They're willing to help us do that, but they said, well, just hang on for a while and see if you really need it. We have the Madison Audubon is doing a fiscal sponsorship for us, so it kind of gives us that nonprofit status without actually being nonprofit. So right now we're doing that while we're trying to get our numbers up, and if we can get people that are interested in joining Dexter, Rita, and myself, then we can start looking at boards and things like that. But right now we're not there yet. But it's having those groups that are really there to help support us and get the word out about our stuff and you know, partner with us on events. It's fantastic. And then putting in the work to do special events and connecting with the community. I do a lot of stuff with kids groups. There are a couple groups that get kids outside that I always come and teach them how to use binoculars, let them look through the scope, that kind of good stuff. There's a bird festival coming up next weekend that I'll be going to represent us, just to get the word out again and connect with people. That's really what it takes to do it. You have to get into it, I think. And then the use of social media, and Dexter's a whiz at that. I'm kind of old school. I got an Instagram account, and I know how to put pictures up there, and that's great. That's it. But Dexter, he's a whiz. How many people do you have following you right now on Instagram?
I got like over 4,000 now, like 4,300, and I've been on there about as long as we started our club, so only about a year. So it's been a pretty wild ride, but we got over 800 on our BiPOC Instagram. We got 417 group members on Facebook. Jeff, you left out a critical component, which is that awesome newsletter that you do every month.
Yeah, the newsletter.
A couple hundred people there. So we're taking kind of this omni-channel approach to our outreach, where it's, community building, obviously the newsletter, it's word to mouth, but social media, it allowed us to move quick early. Jeff talked about it, created the Facebook page immediately, created the Instagram immediately, and just kind of put it out there that we're here. And that's kind of where we started. And Audubon the Madison Audubon has been just an incredible partner. They helped us. After a while, they saw what we were trying to do. And I always told Jeff, as long as we're consistent, we'll get the support that we need, but it's all on us just doing what we say we want to do. And as long as we're consistent, I was like, we'll get the support. And we have. Madison Audubon helped us build our website. They've done so many things for us that have helped us as well to attract new members. And like he said, our friends at Feminist Bird Club, Birdability, spoke on a panel for them for National Audubon. And there's just been some really cool partners that have helped us. But social media has been a big thing for us. And it's what I do for a living. I'm the social media manager for a nonprofit, the Wisconsin Foundation and Alumni Association, with over $4.5 billion in assets. And we support the University of Wisconsin. I've been there almost 7 years. So social media marketing is what I do for my job, but I also teach documentary photography for the sciences at the UW right now. But the way that I approach to get the word out, to attract people to what we do, and we can call it the Wisco Birder method, but it all starts with this idea that you don't have to be a pro. I think a lot of times we make birding intimidating for some people, where it's always like you need to know everything, you need to be right, and you got all these rules and shushing and correcting people, and that's going to steer away a lot of new birders because they're going to feel like they don't belong. So that's the first thing that I do, is I always say you do not need to be a pro to be a birder. And I just think as long as we do that and we set that level of expectation, even the pros that join us appreciate the more, as I call it, slightly scientific. And I have a master's degree in science and communication, but I try to take this slightly scientific approach to birding, especially trying to attract birders of color and new birders. That's our target audience. Our target audience is not the eBird pro, is not the person that has the life list like Jeff and Rita of over 300 birds. We're not targeting them, but they find us too, right? We're targeting the people that have only maybe seen a robin or a cardinal once in a while. Like they haven't started, that bird nerd switch hasn't clicked just yet. That's who we're targeting. And that's what we do. And my whole thing is I say, just pay attention, look for movement, just look for movement, be patient. And I always tell our members when we're out, if you see a bird, point it out. If you see a bird, point it out. You don't need to know the ID. You don't need to know any of that. The fact that you just pointed that bird out to me was super helpful to the group. Your value, right? Like you're adding value to this experience for everybody simply by pointing that bird out, because guess what? The pros that we have with you, the Jeffs and the Ritas, and a lot of times is Caitlin and all of our friends from these other groups will show up and they will help you later. Right? We're not going to worry about that. We can figure some of that stuff out. But if you can just point it out, you're being helpful. And I always say, listen to the music. I love music. Music's always been a part of my life. And that's probably why I include it in my social media. You know, you might see me singing and dancing in the woods and stuff like that. I love music, but I also love the music that the birds make. So I will tell people to pay attention to the music, pay attention to the sounds that you're hearing, and start listening, birding by ear, right? And I will always like recommend the Merlin app for sound IDs and things like that, because it's so cool to see these new birders light up. The next time I saw them and they say, hey, I found 5 new birds in my backyard thanks to that app, and now I know what I'm hearing, now I know what I'm seeing. That gets me excited, right? Like that's what I say. Sometimes birding isn't about the birds, it's those moments, right? It's those moments like that that really kind of just get me excited. We talked about it. You saw that in the clip, the mental health and physical health benefits of just being outside. Mother Nature is super healing. The aha moments. I don't know about you all, when I'm in the woods and I'm birding, I have like some of the best conversations with myself, and I'm like brainstorming, and I'm out there, I'm decompressing. My mind's kind of, for somebody that works in the digital space and I'm always in front of screens and stuff, it's nice to decompress and walk through the woods and breathe and listen to water and bird sounds and stuff. So that peace, that self-reflection is awesome. And ultimately, man, and this is a hill I will die on, birding is fun. Birding is fun. And I don't care what anybody says, I will die on that hill. Birding is fun. Spread that bird joy, right? Share your bird joy. Celebrate those lifers. Celebrate those cool birds that you're seeing. Like, just have some fun sometimes and really enjoy that. Unleash that inner bird nerd. In regards to social media, that's the approach I take. I try to share the bird joy. I try to show how happy birds make me. I try to educate and entertain using videos and how to find birds and different things. I network and I promote our events, and I meet awesome people. And ultimately, I had to convince myself, you all, and I went through this myself as a Wisco birder, this guy that you see that's like, some of my videos get like 18, 19,000 views, 4, 5, 6,000. Like, it's crazy. But at first I was scared, right? Like, that's what I want you to understand, is like, there was a point where I was afraid to just hit publish. I was afraid to share my bird joy. I was afraid to share that I knew about birds and educate people about birds. I was afraid to be this bird nerd that's singing and dancing in the woods. And it's funny what we do when we're afraid of stuff. It can keep us back. So I would just say, just hit publish. Don't be so afraid, right? And understand that you don't need to be perfect. But one of the really cool things that's really stood out, and Jeff pointed this out really early on, and he was like, dang, Dex, he's like, we do events and you do social media stuff, and say 30 people show up, but 100 people watch the live video. So we had 130 people at the event. Or this other live video had, replay views, 400, 500, 600 people are going live with us at the Aldo Leopold Foundation, going live with us at some of these places. Even this Common Loon video, I just did this like 5 days ago, where I found who wants to help me find the Common Loon, and we'll just kind of go around and we'll look for stuff. But it's the accessibility of the social media, the people who can't make it out. We got a group member as sweet as Sherry and Carol. We got a couple group members that always are saying, thank you, I can't get out like I once could. I can't make it to a lot of these events. I'm seeing the birds through you all. Thank you all so much. And like, that's another birding ain't about the birds. It's like, we're bringing some of these moments and some of these birds to people that can't get out, that can't explore some of these areas. So that's been real big. Social media in itself is a big sit. That's a hot take for you, right? Like, people can sit in their house and watch you bird if you go live on Instagram, if you go live on Facebook, or you just put together these little highlight videos and little clips throughout the day, just kind of showing people what you do. And like, when you show people what you do, they know exactly what we're about, because they're seeing it on social media. We're always doing recaps of our events for the newsletter, for the Facebook group and things like that, and recap posts on social media, kind of showing people what we're doing. And that helps attract people into the fold as well. So that's kind of all we got for you all tonight. Let me get up out of here and stop my share because I'm excited to take some questions from everybody. And I know Jeff probably is too.
Yeah, we got, looks like there's a couple there. Let's see where.
Yeah, we have quite a few questions for you. And thanks so much. That was a really great presentation.
Okay.
I can feel your energy, and it's exciting and giving me a lot of ideas. I lead a lot of field trips for Washtenaw Audubon too, and we like to do the little lifer dance when somebody gets a lifer, but I think I could be a little more excited sometimes. I'm definitely one for shushing, so I'm gonna have to think about that. I'm an ear birder, so if I have a big group and everyone's talking,
Yeah,
I can't help. I can't hear it. So something I think about a lot is how to find a good mix between being quiet and being excited.
get that.
So Brittany from Detroit Audubon says she loves the idea of clapping for new birders, and I love that too. I'm thinking about that for tomorrow's bird walk at the Arb. We always get new birders, and we love it when they come back also. And we just a couple years ago purchased binoculars for Washtenaw Audubon to lend at our bird walks, and they've been a huge hit. So we have two guys who are brothers who are quite young, and they came to our first Arb walk this spring in March, and they've been back every week, and they don't own binoculars, but they still come, and they're really getting into it. And every bird is a life bird, so it's super exciting.
Yeah, that's fun to see.
Yeah, it's really fun to see. I'm looking through the questions. I'm trying to scroll, and I'm not having a lot of luck.
I think we have let's see, do you think, I think the next one is, do you think
Right.
in the future you'll reach out to other local Black, Indigenous, and people of color environmental groups to create events on other days of Black Birders Week to make it more of an entire week of events? Yes, I think so. I think there's plenty of room to grow. I mean, we literally, like, from from that day on June 16th that we went for that walk, I mean, it has been nonstop. I mean, it's just been amazing. It's been busy and amazing, but so there's a lot of room to grow. But yes, absolutely. And I personally, and I'm pretty sure I can speak for Dexter on this, is that we're open to collaborating with just about anybody who wants to, because you know, the more people that are on board, the more that the conversation shifts a little bit. And you know, that's what needs to happen. We're not saying we're going to change everything in 1 day or 1 year, but the conversation is started there, and we've brought in a lot of people that have been probably privately thinking about how to do this themselves, but not sure how. And so, yes, to answer your question, absolutely.
I agree. You're kind of seeing that happen in Milwaukee a little quicker. There's a little more in Milwaukee that's happening with BiPOC groups that are leading some stuff like Nearby Nature, Jeff.
Yep.
I can see us partnering with them on some stuff. So 100%, Brittany, I think that's something that we're definitely looking forward to doing.
Sorry, just chime in real quick. A group that might be a good option that we've been in contact with is Outdoor Afro.
Yeah,
They're a major group, and so that might be an option.
Yeah, their leader in this area comes to all of our events. And
yeah, that too, right, Jeff? And then also Chris Kilgore and Color in the Outdoors is another. We actually have an event with them in June. So we are starting to collaborate with other groups that have things going on. And I mean, Color in the Outdoors is awesome because he has this private land near Horicon Marsh, and his whole thing is like teaching like hiking and camping and outdoor skills and those type of things. So we can really like kind of balance each other with what he's doing. And so we are excited about some of these collaborations. That's a great question.
That is a great question. Thanks for that, Brittany. And that's something we're trying to do here at Washtenaw Audubon, especially Victor has been reaching out to the local libraries to various other groups, public school groups. We've reached out to science classes at Washtenaw Community College. Lots more outreach is happening at Washtenaw Audubon as well. And we're really excited about that work too. This is an important question from John Farmer. How can white individuals and groups with very few BiPOC members make themselves both be and appear more welcoming to BiPOC folks and to reach out more effectively to BiPOC members of communities that are largely white?
Yeah, I got some thoughts on this for sure. I think sometimes you got to start in your inner circle, right? You start inviting your BiPOC friends, your coworkers, people in your community, your neighbors and things, right? You kind of can start there. I also think you can kind of start to drum this up by speaking up on issues that are important in regards to diversity and inclusion in your local organizations, because that's going to start to change the dynamic in the room or how people are thinking about it now, maybe that these issues are top of mind for the organizations. But I think a really important one, John, would be to just start supporting other local nonprofits and organizations that are promoting to those audiences that you're hoping to bring in. So show them some support and start to build some trust with some of these other organizations that have those people, and then kind of show them what you can offer. And that's where those collaborations really come in handy that Jeff talked about. So really supporting those other organizations, volunteer at an organization that serves people that you're hoping to bring in. And I just think that's a great way to learn and to build relationships that can ultimately bring people in.
Yeah, people, I mean, people like familiarity. I mean, that's part of what, we do. And it can be frightening to step outside of that a little bit. But I think that when you do that, like Dexter said, when you're making the outreach efforts, people will appreciate the, it being a genuine thing. I think, I run mentoring at Madison College for students of color. And while we don't have a lot of employees of color, not enough for all of our students. So I take any mentors, and I think, people are like, well, I'm white. How can I mentor a student of color? Because if you're concerned about them and you show through your actions that you're concerned about them and you support them, I mean, anybody's going to take support. You know what I mean? And so I think, bridging those gaps, finding commonalities with people that are different than you, that seem different. There is a lot about us that no matter how different we are, that is the same. And you can always find things to connect with people or groups on that are, so you don't have to focus on the differences. And I think that's really important. But do the outreach to people that are doing the work. And it doesn't even have to be an environmental or nature related things, but it's the people that are, working with the communities you want to attract.
Thank you.
Start small. Yeah.
Thanks, Jeff and Dexter.
Yeah.
Great. There's a question from Kristen. Down the road, could you see spinning off a Young Birders Club?
Absolutely.
I mean, if I can get more enrollment, hell yes.
Yeah.
That is a 100% yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's great to think, that we could grow into something like that. And that for me would be absolutely the ideal thing. Because like I said, I work with people that, that are my age or maybe a little younger, but that are, coming to school for the first time because they're like, I want to do this. I've been told my whole life I can't, but I want to do this. Can I? That kind of thing. And I want to circumvent that. I don't want people to go until they're 50 or 60 before they overcome what they've been taught or shown or told to realize their own dreams. I want that. If you see it, you can be it going on when they're 6 or 7. I think that's just so important. So yes, absolutely, 100%.
And Victor, that's Morgan's next assignment. Victor's daughter is a very passionate young birder.
All right, that's awesome. I love that.
And Roman need to go birding together, I think. She's a little older, but yeah. Oh, there she is.
Hey, Morgan. Got back from youth group.
Hi. That's awesome. Yeah, we love that. We love the young kids coming out, and so we hope that we can get enough people that are coming to our events that would do that. And I think Roman will be able to take a young birders group right quick here, real quick. So we can definitely make it happen, and we will.
Our goal is just to support him in every way we can. You know, like, you want to be the greatest birder ever, let's do it. You know,
Of course.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Anybody else in the audience right now that wants to ask your own question rather than have me read your question?
Dexter, do your kids go birding with you?
Oh yeah. So my two youngest daughters love birding. So my 10-year-old and my 7-year-old, they come to pretty much every event. Jeff talked about when we were in Milwaukee, we spotted the snowy owl before the purple sandpiper and the ruddy turnstone, and they actually were in the scope. We actually have a shot of my two little ones in the scope as they're looking at the snowy for the first time. So pretty
that's so
wild.
exciting.
Yeah.
Good stuff, yeah.
That was a hit. That was a hit pick on social and in the newsletter.
Yeah, it was.
You see the two little cute little girls, and they're all bundled up because we're on the lake. You know, we're by the lake in the middle of winter. You know,
it's cold.
Yeah, very
It's
cold.
cold.
The Milwaukee Lake Shore in winter. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. My
Well-
daughter's a little older, but yeah, she's kind of getting into birding a little bit. She sends me pictures all the time. She's out in California going to school right now, but she'll send me a picture and say, "Is this a yellow-billed magpie?" Yes, it is. So so she's getting into it. I'm actually going out there in a month to spend a week chasing birds around California. So it's going to be a lot of fun. That's going to be great.
Isn't that rewarding when your
Yeah, it
kids
is.
get the bug?
Yep.
I have two college age kids, and neither of them are super into birding, but my daughter, every once in a while, she'll say, "Mom, I went out to the park with my binoculars and I showed people some birds," and I just get so excited.
That's right. Yeah. You know, one thing I was going to add that I had forgotten related to that, just stirred that in me, is that, I think both of us feel this way. We're not like looking to convert people to become serious hardcore birders, and a lot of the people that come our way are not going to be. But when they're doing something where there's birds, or that they will do sometimes, that works too, because you can combine it with so many things, right? I mean, when I travel for work, which I have to go to like 5 or 6 conferences a year, I just tag on a few extra days because I go all across the country. What a beautiful way to see more birds and things like that. So I mean, if people can do that even a little bit, they don't have to go out every day like we do. It's just there's a lot of people that are never going to be as serious, but that's okay. They're aware and they're interested, and they incorporate that into other things they do, and I think that's great too for some folks.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I wanted to give a shout out. I hope I'm not putting you on the spot. Tony Alvarez, who's a retired professor from the University of Michigan School of Social Work, whose life work has been exploring how mental health benefits come from nature and things to do in the outdoors. There's a lot of research behind
Hey, I
that.
hope we're making you proud, because we're definitely talking about that, and
Yeah.
we even talk about it on interviews on the news and stuff. Like, we just think it's important. So
yeah,
I don't see enough Black men or men in general talking about it, but Jeff and I are trying to break down some of those barriers, and because it does, man. Like I can't. I like feel bummed out when I don't get outside, and I always feel better when I do. So it's real.
Mhm. That's what we say. It's probably going to be raining in the morning tomorrow, and it's better to be birding in the rain than sitting at home wishing you were out birding. Come on. Yeah.
Right on.
So this was really wonderful. I'm so excited that Jeff and Dexter were able to come and talk to us this evening. And thanks so much to Victor for finding them and bringing them to us. It was really, really wonderful. Just part of part of an outreach that we're trying so hard to get through to making our organization feel more inclusive for everybody out there. And you guys have so much bird joy. Keep spreading it around, and we'll hope to be a satellite around your bird joy, bringing bird joy to lots more birders here in our community as well.
Awesome.
Don't be strangers, and most of our events will be going forward are going to be hybrid. So we'll be Zooming as well as meeting in person at the same time. And we would love for you to join us. Tune in. We've got these programs coming every month.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Well,
Also,
I'm in Washtenaw County.
make sure that
in Wisconsin.
I'll be back in Wisconsin. I'll let you know.
Yeah.
Make sure you give your t-shirt sizes, and make sure Victor has your home address, because we get Washtenaw Audubon t-shirts for all of our speakers, and you get a complimentary Washtenaw Audubon membership for the year.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
Very kind. We appreciate that.
So you'll get our newsletter as well. So Victor, make sure you get that information to me. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks everyone for coming. Next month, we'll see you maybe in person or on Zoom. We'll be hybrid. And all the crazy birds are coming within the next couple weeks. So don't stay indoors. Just get out there.
Get out.
Get all the warblers.
Well, thank you all. We're really grateful for the opportunity, and thanks for the work you're embarking on. It's important, and it doesn't have to be huge right away. Just steps, and it's okay. It'll happen.
Thanks for your work.
Yeah.
You guys are amazing.
Well, thank you all too.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Appreciate you all.
Good night, bird nerds.
Yeah, good night. Yeah.
Good night, bird nerds.
Thank you. Good night.